Boom, baby. Football cards collecting and investing. Look, we are so happy with all the feedback that all of you have sent us from our interview with Lou Janu over the weekend, and that was a lot of fun. So make sure you check that out. We're going to be doing more interviews, but today, Andy, we're going to talk about a lot that is happening, including a very important topic. What is the best way for me to list your cards? Okay, whoever you are, we're going to talk about card listing today. And what we want to do in the comment section, last week we had the optic versus prism debate, and today, Andy, we want to talk about 99-cent auctions. Are they actually good for right now, or should you just list cards as buy it now? So let us know in the comment section below, which method do you prefer, especially now during this hot cycle. And Andy, I find myself, I know you're a big buy it now guy, but for me, I'm listing a lot of 99-cent auctions right now because the market's hot and I just want to get some cards out so I can get some money in, so I can burn all my money on a Jamar Chase zebra print select card when it drops. So what what method are you using right now the most?
Yeah, so I'm strictly a buy it now guy, but that's because there's so much gray area. Like when you're determining whether to send a card to auction or in a buy it now, I mean, you have to consider the player, the relevancy that they currently have, because so much of what drives the football card market is recency bias. And you got to think about who's getting the most hype right now. And it's a lot of it are rookies and backup quarterbacks and these guys that are speculative. And of course, there's always, you have to take into consideration who that player is. Like there's always like rare cards of Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, or even Tom Brady. Like if you send those to auction, yeah, you're going to get views and you're going to get bids, but you want to consider, like, is this the peak relevancy that they're going to have? If it's a guy that's going to play week one, then you probably want to wait and time that auction to end week one when they're about to play on the main stage.
Yeah, and you've been getting a lot of comments, and I've gotten a few questions as well. And yours are more from people that are very much into cards. Mine's are a little bit, hey, I got some cards stored away. I see you got cards in the background of your YouTube channel. What do I need to do? So obviously, Andy, your audience is a little bit more, accustomed to listing cards. My simple point here is if you absolutely need to get the card sold and you want to get some cash influx, you 99-cent auction that thing. I think that's always, if you absolutely want to get that card out, that is the best way to do it. And Andy, something that I see a lot of people do is they'll do this thing where the first bid, I want my first bid to be $9.99, and they'll put that as the minimum bid. And then at the same time, they'll do like a buy it now for or you could buy it now for $20. And I'm like, that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So for me, obviously it depends on the card. Sometimes you can do one of those opening bids at $1,000 if the card is really that desirable. But if the card is desirable and you 99-cent that thing, there's going to be a lot of people that bid, right? And if it really is desirable, if you do a 99-cent on a Herbert Silver Auto, Lionel Messi in another sport or whatever, people are going to start bidding. And before you know it, that card, just an hour after listing is going to have $700 already into it. So more often than not, Andy, when we get this question, why am I not selling more cards? It's because the card isn't desirable. So I wish there was another way we could put it, but a lot of times it just comes down to how desirable that card actually is.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there is a sweet spot we talk about, especially when it comes to the majority of NFL players, like the skill position guys. There's a sweet spot. A lot of hobbyists want to spend somewhere between like $40 and $60 in one of those players. And when you look at the cards that fit into that criteria, those are going to be more of your color match, serial number cards, autograph cards, cards that have a little bit more scarcity, but also a little bit more eye appeal, desirability. Maybe they have the brand recognition of a contenders or the optic rated rookie logo or the prism brand, stuff like that. And so you see a lot more of those cards. But I'm with you, Carter. If you're going to go to an auction and like force a sale because you want that cash, you want to make that money now, absolutely do it at a 99 cent, because think about it. If someone bids on that because they see it at 99 cent, like, oh, I got to put a bid in at $5. Like if some reason this thing goes that low, I may have a chance, put in a bid. Well, then that person gets a notification when they get outbid. And so all of a sudden you've manufactured this bidding war by starting your card at 99 cents. And I think that's definitely the way to go. That's the way you get the more people in that way.
And in our conversation with Lou, he made a good point. The market is what the market is, right? You can't just force something to be popular. So while I might think that a college uniformed Garrett Wilson card, because he's a great wide receiver at Ohio State, I might think that this card should be worth $20, and I think college uniform cards should be worth more. I truly do believe that, but it's just not. That's just the reality of the situation, right? So, I trust you, Andy. We wish skill position cards could go for more. We wish, a lot of different things would go for more, and we wish that it wasn't just a certain select amount of cards that go for the most money, but it's just how it is, right? Things gradually change in football cards, and this always and if there's anything that you can ever take away from this podcast, Andy, you and I, we share this all the time. It is way harder to sell a card than buy a card. It's 10 times harder to sell a card than to buy a card. It always has been. It always will be, right? And sellers, you're vulnerable. There's a lot of different things that can happen when you sell a card, right? There's still a lot of fraud that is happening in this hobby. Oh, well, I never received this card. And they actually do receive it, and they, you're SOL, right? So it's one of those things, Andy. Selling cards is hard. That's why in the last couple of episodes, we've said list 10 cards. Andy, guess what? I listed 10 cards because I didn't do what I did in, episode two episodes ago. I said, God, I got to list these cards. I just got to do it. It's hard, Andy. And you've done a ton of videos on this channel how to more efficiently list cards, but you got to take a good photo. You got to list it. You got to put the card number. You got to put a good title, because that person is buying a card. There's hundreds of options a person could do when they buy a card. So, it takes time. It's tedious, but you got to do it if you really want to sell these cards.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people putting these rocket ship emojis, flame emojis, the huge sale, the pack pull, the great value on their title. And my question for you, Carter, as a consumer, as a buyer of football cards, does this really do anything for you?
Not really. It might do something if I'm just like brand new to it, but honestly, the photo is going to tell me more. The photo is what I'm going to spend the most time looking, right? Something else is if there are some words and things that you want to put in the title, make sure you put the card number on there. Make sure you put the year. The player's name is spelled correctly. That one's obviously pretty huge. Put the critical things that you need in the listing, but also in your description, write a longer description with a bunch of keywords in it, and that's obviously going to help you out, potentially getting a few extra views as well. So all those things are very, very important, but I just can't get over this, Andy. And I used to be this person as well. What? Isn't anybody buying my cards? Well, it's because your cards just are not really that good. And, I think one thing, Andy, is that a lot of people will rip boxes and they'll just get all the cards in the box and they'll be like, oh, okay, well, I just bought a $40 blaster, or $35 blaster, or whatever. And I have all these cards. I'm going to list them and I'm definitely going to get my $35 back. No, it's just not. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Right. So, yeah, Andy, it's hard to understand that as a seller, and it shouldn't discourage you. It's just, it's the emoji thing, the rocket ship. Oh, yes, this card is going to take me to the moon and it's going to make me very, very rich. Watch out, Jeff Bezos. Yeah, the emoji game is just kind of, it's funny, but
yeah.
It is what it is. Huh?
So for example, like you talked about college uniform cards, right? And for the right player, these are very applicable. If you look at the 2022 rookies, because that's primarily the only thing that's out for them, and you have some more options. And so, for example, like I opened a Dameon Pierce college ticket auto last week, numbered out of 149. There is no telling how many boxes of 2022 Chronicles draft picks I would have had to open to get that card. I did sell that card for $60 after buying it at the end of July for $10. So I did really well on it, but I also listed it immediately. If I would have waited till October, November, and like, oh yeah, I got that Dameon Pierce card, and he maybe he has a great game at the end of October, but the Houston Texans are 4-4, and now this is a college ticket auto when now there's based honors, gold standard, elements, Panini Black. There's several sets out now with him in his pro uniform. All of a sudden, I'm not getting nearly what I could got or what I did get this past Friday selling that card. So that's a primary example of like capitalizing when striking when the iron's hot, like understanding the cards you have, the player that you have, and striking when the iron's hot.
Dameon Pierce hype cycle, baby. You gotta love it.
And so I didn't do anything special in that listing. All I did was look up college ticket auto, Dameon Pierce, and find one that just recently sold. I'm like, boom, here's the number one numbered out of 49 that sold for $85. Okay, I'm gonna use that listing as my starting point because I know the title's successful, the descriptors are successful. So I go ahead and click that. I click sell one like this, and all of a sudden I'm off to the races. I upload my own photos, modify the title, and I'm off to the races.
Right. And that's the thing. And you know what you're doing. And, very simply put, I don't own any Sean Alexander cards. And even though I went to Alabama, and yeah, he was great. Yeah, he rushed for 2,000 yards. You're just not going to get a lot of Sean Alexander buyers. But Justin Herbert, better watch out, baby. And Romeo Dobbs, the next Jordy Nelson, better watch out, baby. So let us know in the comment section below. 99-cent auction, buy it now. What are some of the strategies that you use to be successful? Because that is the number one question that we are getting. And even more importantly, if you want one-on-one help, you can go to our Patreon, right? Patreon.com/footballcards. You get to be a part of the Discord. Once again, there's people in there that are really smart, Jonathan Taylor cards and so on, that give you good advice. Some people that have been in the game for 2 decades, some people that have been in the game for 2 days. Go to patreon.com/footballcards and check it out. Now, obviously, Andy, a big story right now is Select. Select design looks amazing. I just think they killed it here. I think this is going to be very fun. I know retail is retail, but still, there's still people that don't like Select because it did hit retail shelves. These designs are just freaking amazing. I wish there was another way I could put it, but I just love the way that some of these cards look.
Yeah, I do too. I think they improved the designs over last year. I also think they improved the photo option here on the Jamar Chase card over the Prism. So you got a big upgrade here in photo for Jamar Chase. So that's nice. And of course, because this product is so brand new to the market, cards right now are going for a premium. Not quite as much as you would see like when Prism was first released. Right. Because there are more options, right? When Prism was first released, it was the first of the major release sets for 2021 rookies. Now there's Prism out, there's Optic out, there's Optic Contenders out, there's Base Contenders out. So there's a lot of options now for 2021 rookies, and Select is kind of like coming in on the back end here, like total back end here now as the 2022 season is about to start. So there's a lot of options, but I love the designs. I think people are going to really enjoy these designs, but still, like, target serial numbered autograph cards, target scarcity within this set to, help boost the liquidity, help boost the resale value that you get from these cards, and understand the hype cycles of these players.
Yeah, and I, to go along with Select, I would list my Trey Lances as buy it nows right now. If you don't want to just move one, because it's amazing how much Trey Lance cards are going for right now, Andy. It's truly, truly incredible. I think he is the most fascinating quarterback of these rookie quarterbacks since we've not really seen him play. We had a very limited sample, and with the other 5, we've seen them, quite a bit. Now, I know Zach Wilson's have taken a hit a little bit in theory because of his injury, but man, all 6 of these rookie quarterbacks, sometimes these prices can get really, really, really astonishing, if you will.
Yeah, so this is a non-serial number insert within Select. And the key there is that it's non-serial number. Of course, Zach Wilson just recently underwent, arthroscopic knee surgery, and he should be back sometime mid-September. But I mean, it wasn't good how he went out in the first place. And that's these cards that are non-serial numbered, even though they have a cool design, interesting appeal for a guy that just doesn't have the hype and the relevancy right at this moment. You can see this card went for just $3.25. So once again, very, very interesting to observe recency bias, and always go on Twitter and look at what's going on with the player that you're holding. Then understand, where does that card rank in the liquidity scale, and the how desirable it is before you go and list that thing, especially in an auction.
Yeah. So once again, if you want Select cards right now, obviously, if you could buy boxes retail, it's always fun to have, some sealed wax in the back. But man, the single market is just crazy right now for Select. So maybe, just maybe, you can get some value on a Prism auction, because there's just more cards out there now for the class of 2021. So just be careful, I guess you could say, as far as overspending. Maybe it could be the peak for this certain player in Select. And if you're watching on YouTube right now, you do see a hobby box going for $1,500, which is very, very, very interesting. So, Andy, if I walk into Walmart and I see some mega boxes sealed or whatever, I'm gonna grab it. If I see a blaster, I'm gonna grab it. I might not open it, but it's fun to hold on to some sealed wax. It's always a fun investment, but I'm just waiting, for some of these Jamar Chase Select single prices to go down so I can pounce myself.
Yeah, I haven't been able to find any of the zebra print Jamar Chase cards yet, but I anticipate that they'll make their way out. It's still very, very fresh. I believe it was just released last Friday, so and hobby box format. So it's probably not going to hit retail shelves maybe towards the end of this week, next week, and you're going to start to see that product hit the retail shelves, and then that'll start circulating its way to eBay's marketplace a lot faster. And so, for example, that base field level, even though it's a field level, and we know that's the shorter print tier within Select, like Concourse is the base tier, and then they have Premier, and then last year they had club level, and I think they may have brought it back, but I think I saw a club level earlier. I'm going to have to do some more digging, because according to the checklist, they got rid of club level, but I think I saw one earlier, so I'm going to do some more digging into that. But then field level is supposed to be the most short print tier, but even in the base variation, that card's gonna go down. It just doesn't have the color appeal. It's probably going to end up like a $10 card. And right now, people are trying to get 100, 150 on the best players like Jamar Chase from 2021 class. That's a prime example of a card that's going to go down big time once there's a lot more Select product on eBay to choose from.
Yeah, shout out JJ Bama. I got a Bama jersey up here. He was last week talking about field level and the good old field level days. I believe that was JJ Bama in one of our comment sections. Shout out to him. I don't know him that well. Do you know JJ Bama has been a quester for a while?
Yeah, he has. He's a big PSA collector investor, and he's transitioned actually from Select field level silvers. That used to be one of his favorite cards, and mine as well. We both saw them as being extremely liquid. Like the 2019 field level silver cards have a high gem rate. They're gorgeous cards. They've done very well for Kyler and all the other guys from 2019. But Since Select was released in retail, that has definitely tarnished the brand. It's also tarnished the resale value that these cards got from previous recent years of Select. It really has. And so he's transitioned from field level silvers to now optic hollows. And that's his new sweet spot, optic hollow PSA 10s. And that's his new sweet spot. And I see those cards as being extremely liquid. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned to you on last week's show. Maybe I did, that I sold my Tua SGC 10 optic hollow. So I finally gave in to one of those offers. It was very close to my asking price. So, optic hollow is incredibly liquid, even in raw format, and for a lot of players. Like, I just sold a lot of optic. It had an optic hollow, a couple other color parallels of Brandon Ayuk, another very popular player on a massive market team in the San Francisco 49ers. So those factor, that market size, that fan base size has a big effect. Like, you could even go to NFLPA's website and look at the jersey sales, and that'll give you a good indication right there of who is most hyped up. And a lot of times you'll see it's driven off of market size, like Justin Fields. Like, Vegas has got the Bears predicted to only win 4.5, 5 games this year. Justin Fields still is one of the jersey sales leaders, according to NFLPA. And so his cards are liquid, especially his more rare cards. They're still going to fetch a pretty penny.
Here's the thing about Justin Fields that's very interesting. Is Chicago's never had, they had Jim McMahon and Jay Cutler, and they've never really had a star quarterback, right? And if somehow, some way, Justin Fields is able to get hot during the season with this bad roster, the market size, the dual threat, the exciting brand of football he plays, watch out. I've always liked Justin Fields. He was still my favorite quarterback coming out of the Trevor Lawrence draft class. He's got the worst supporting cast out of any of those quarterbacks, but watch out. If he's able to get hot, it's going to be massive, right? Because Chicago is, always going to be a Jordan city. It's always going to be a Cubs city. But that's a good football city. There's a lot of Bears fans there. So it's very interesting. If he does get hot, watch out. Now, overall, before we get into playoff, or before we get into play of the week here, and hobby tip of the week, and your thoughts on the QB market as we move closer to the season is what?
QB, it's still driving the market. It's still incredibly hyped up. There has not been a dip yet in Davis Mills. I continue to look at him as a prime example of the quarterback market hype, and people choosing to ignore the fact that they are in an incredibly difficult AFC conference. We also saw Trevor Lawrence play again this past weekend in a limited capacity in preseason against the Steelers, in which there were some very high transactions that I noticed on Trevor Lawrence. Kenny Pickett. What's interesting is Kenny Pickett is now, his rookie autograph cards are now selling for, if you were to compare like the scarcity and the availability and like the quality of autograph card from Kenny Pickett is selling for the same as the quality of card from Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, really?
And that goes back to the availability of different products out for specific player. There's very little out for Kenny Pickett. So what is out, like the supply has dwindled very fast, and therefore the prices have shot up exponentially. And there's becoming more and more demand from the Pittsburgh fan base to have Kenny Pickett as a starter. So, whenever I polled the community last week, how many games is Mitchell Trubisky going to start this year? It's like about a 6-game over-under at this point. Mason Rudolph had another game this preseason appearance, and he's played pretty good throughout camp. And Kenny Pickett is progressing. He's picking it up pretty quick. And that George Pickens guy is an absolute stud, and I know you like Georgia players. So
I love Pickens coming out. And obviously the Steelers are legendary for their receiver drafting. I mean, they just don't miss. I mean, they're just really, really good at it. So it's very, very interesting. So obviously we look at it every week. It's very important that you subscribe to the Fantasy Football Card Quest Network. Coming up on the channel, you are going to be doing pretty big CSG reveals. So make sure all of you check it out. Now, hobby tip of the week. Andy, I'm not going to spend too much time on mine because we did it for the beginning of the episode, right? The 99 cent versus a buy it now. Do you have any other extra hobby tip of the weeks?
Yeah, so I would say organization is important. And if you're looking to track, like I do think it's important for, right, obviously you got a organization in terms of storing your physical cards in your inventory. I think you should have them in some type of organizational format. I recommend you get like a box that's got the dividers in it, and then you organize it by player. I find that the best way to do it, so you can quickly go to the player and see the cards that you have for that player, and like organize it versus listed and non-listed cards. Especially once you start listing a lot of cards, make sure you have those listed cards in a place where you can get them, because customer service and handling time is very important, and ensuring you get that 100% positive feedback. You want to mail stuff out promptly, because there is that, delay in getting the card, and then potentially someone's trying to flip it and you want to get it to them as quick as possible. So there's no delays there. And Google Sheets. And everybody doesn't have to have Microsoft Excel on their computer. You can actually go get a free Gmail account and start a Google Sheets, which is a cloud-based Excel format. And you could just track basic things like the card name, how much you paid for it, and the date you paid for it. And so you can just kind of track basic trends. You can track your portfolio, so you can see, like, include the price plus the shipping and handling. So your total investment cost in the card. So that way it'll give you a good idea of what you're in on that card, and then, kind of where you want to get out at. So you make sure that you're getting a sufficient profit margin and stuff.
I love it. So yeah, obviously organization, that's something that I struggle with. So yeah, be on the lookout for card dividers. And yeah, don't and don't be like me and allow cards to pile up and say, oh, well, I was thinking about listing this one. I'm thinking about listing now. List it, put it away, onto the next card. Now it's time for play of the week, Andy. And I'm going to start here. I'm very, very, very interested in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, right? This is a guy who has just fallen off the face of the earth, right? He's had these injury issues. He's had a lot of these other nagging things. And this is a crowded backfield. But then again, you still have first round draft capital. And if he's healthy, there's all these rumors. Well, Sky Moore's going to play running back. Isaiah Pacheco out of Rutgers, who I think is decent, but the opportunity's there in that Kansas City backfield. I just like Clyde Edwards-Helaire a lot. Obviously, that might just be my LSU bias, but I mean, if he pops, people are going to be like, well, I used to spend this much on Clyde Edwards-Helaire cards, and it used to be crazy, the sheer amount of volume of Clyde Edwards-Helaire cards that would just move and move and move and move. Now, I wouldn't spend a fortune on a Clyde Edwards-Helaire card, but they are drastically cheaper than they once were. And keep in mind, even though for me, just watching him, he's not been as dominant as he was at LSU, but Kansas City's options are wide open right now, right? So who knows where Mahomes is going to target the football. And Clyde was a good pass catcher coming out of college. So just be on the lookout. It's somebody very interesting. It might just be my LSU bias and just hoping that he finally breaks out. But I am, I do have Clyde Edwards-Helaire Save Search. I did it recently, and I'm thinking about it. Let me just put it that way. I'm thinking about it.
I think you might be on an island with that take, but
hey, that's fine.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. So my play of the week is actually going to go back to because one quarterback we didn't mention when you asked me about the quarterback market, Baker Mayfield's card since being announced the official starter week 1, which we knew was happening. We talked about this card. This is why you guys subscribe to the channel. His card values have gone up, and I'm about to blow your mind, Carter, because Baker Mayfield's Prism PSA 10 is trading for the same as Kyler Murray's Prism PSA 10 right now.
It's nuts.
And of course, Josh Allen's base Prism PSA 10 is a $700 card. Lamar Jackson's a $430 card. If we were to look at the chart here, share my screen, even keeping Saquon Barkley in the loop here, just because the generational talent, the draft capital he comes with from 2018, his card's about 70, only half of what the Kyler Murray is at $150. And I just still think that Kyler Murray's cards in general, like, use this as a gold standard because it does have a population of 2,700, a little bit more than the Josh Allen, the Baker Mayfield, and the Lamar Jackson. But go and look at some of Kyler's other cards. I recently saw a rookie ticket auto for Kyler that closed an auction like under $400. That in comparison is not very much more than DK Metcalf and AJ Brown. And that is wild to me. And I know that there's, obviously it's been a dysfunctional offseason for Kyler, to say the least, especially the start to the preseason. And there has not been any news. Like, I very rarely see training camp reports from Kyler. I very rarely see any type of news about Kyler Murray's preseason. I think this is keeping his cards down, but he's a guy that can explode onto the scene based on that athletic ability. Carter, I think now's the time to buy in some of these more established young quarterbacks or even skill position players that are just not getting the recency bias, not getting all the news because they're not really playing. And Kyler Murray is a prime example.
So as someone who's made a Baker Mayfield play a few months ago, and I feel like I'm about to be able to sell my Baker Mayfield, kudos to those that saw the Baker thing coming, right? I did, and I was able to trade a card that I never thought I would trade, but it's turned out to be a steal because a guy included a Chris Paul jersey card, whatever. But my issue, Andy, is I made a mistake. The Baker Mayfield card is a little dinged, and I didn't evaluate it closely enough. So if I had a flawless copy of this card or a better copy of this card, it would have sold. And I actually looked at these Baker Mayfield things not too long ago and was wondering why isn't mine selling? And then, I know that it's dinged, right? So it shows, once again, I saw something happening. I actually traded a cheaper version of a Jerry Rice rookie card for a Baker Mayfield card. Now, in theory, Andy, that sounds like it's a dumb thing to do, but it turned out to be a decent move for me because a guy threw in some extras to get that deal done. That's why looking at condition of these cards are so important. It's very, very, very important. I still came out pretty well in the deal because of the extra cards, but Andy, it's crazy how this stuff works. We know Baker Mayfield's not that great. We know Baker Mayfield is not the future. Maybe these card bumps are a little extra because Matt Corral did get hurt, and Matt Corral was looking good in practice. But if you are one of those people holding Baker Mayfield cards, for darn sure that Sam Darnold is not going to be the starter because Sam Darnold is flat out awful. So if you're sitting and you made these Baker Mayfield plays, you have had the perfect storm, Andy. You have had the absolute perfect storm. Corral's hurt. Sam Darnold's a top backup. Matt Rule's got to win some games this year. So Baker, man, this is absolutely wild. This is absolutely wild. The Baker Mayfield experience, baby.
I think it's going to – I don't think we're at the peak. It may level off. We'll see what kind of playing time he gets this final preseason week. But we got to remember, they're playing the Browns week 1, man. The revenge game that's arguably just as hot of a narrative as Russell Wilson playing against his former team in the Seattle Seahawks. So, I mean, I think these revenge narratives just lead to an incredible amount of hype because they're going to be a focus point of ESPN, of NFL Network. That they're going to be talking about. And so Russ's week 1 revenge game is Monday night against the Seahawks. So he's going to be isolated kind of that Monday night island, whereas Baker's is on Sunday. So this is going to be a focal point of a lot of broadcasters on that opening Sunday week. And I think it's going to lead to a tremendous amount of hype. So we could see that actually be the spike. Now, if they win that game and Baker throws a few touchdowns to DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Christian McCaffrey looks good, all of a sudden we're going to see that continue to appreciate. And just like anything, wins are very closely correlated to MVP conversation, MVP consideration, and quarterbacks drive that conversation as well. So, and we see that closely correlated to the football card market, and be prepared is all I'm saying.
I follow this guy on Twitter. I think his name is Nola Cardboard or something like that. And he was buying Baker like crazy during this offseason, and he's going to come out like a bandit. I mean, just higher end stuff, and it's just nuts. I feel there's something about Baker that's very relatable, right? He's a former walk-on. He is a guy who's been doubted. This is a guy who transferred, bet on himself, going to Oklahoma. And he's not the biggest, he's not the fastest, and there's a lot of doubters out there. And I think people really kind of buy into that with him. And I think, they kind of buy into that a little bit with Russell Wilson as well, because he's also undersized. But Russell obviously is a very, very good athlete, not as athletic as he used to be. But there is a relatability to Baker Mayfield, right? Because we've all been doubted, and Baker is legit being doubted right now. So it's very interesting. And yeah, I never thought that trading a Jerry Rice for Baker Mayfield would be a good move. I felt dirty when I was doing it. We'll see. I got to sell the Baker for it to really pay off. But man, it is amazing what quarterbacks can do with some hype. It is truly freaking incredible. We've lived through the Mike White cycle. We've lived through the Jordan Love cycle. We've lived through all different types of cycles here, and the Baker hype cycle is rolling yet again, baby.
Yeah, and not too distant in the past, the Mike White hype cycle was popping off again. I mean, in fact, people are still buying his cards right now. I mean, he played again in the preseason. It's like he's continuing to fight for that starting job over Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco would start. And his card prices are cheap. They're not like they were when he won, when he beat the Cincinnati Bengals and he threw for over 400 yards. He was the first Jets quarterback to throw for over 400 yards since 2000. So, I mean, that just like the Jets fans just dropped their pants, and like went crazy for his cards. But he's still getting transactions today because of that singular appearance and because he's getting some playing time in the preseason. Like I tell people, I've been preaching this. Like if you are holding, like Kellen Mond got super hyped up preseason week 1. Bailey Zappi got super hyped up week 1. All these guys. Sam Howell popped off for the Commanders with a couple rushing touchdowns. Got a bunch of transactions going off on eBay. So there's a ton of backup quarterback hype in the preseason. And that's the time to sell those backup quarterback cards because it's recency bias. There's a potential for those guys. Like Kyle Trask is another good example. And the more I watch him, the more I'm like, oh man, I just don't think he's going to be good long term. So, but these guys are getting playing time. They're the guys that are showing up on the highlights right now. They're the guys that are driving demand on eBay as well.
Oh man, the Kyle Trask thing. Yeah. It's amazing, right? Then you had Kyle Pitts to throw to. You had Kadarius Toney. You had Dan Mullen. Obviously a very interesting player. I don't think he's a future Bucs quarterback if this is Tom Brady's last year. Good to see Tom back. Pretty wild that transaction, $192K during last year, and now that same card went for $60K.
2000 Bowman Chrome Refractor PSA 10 at its peak was $192,000 card. This is a card that went in a PWCC Premier auction. This time around, like I was first thinking, why would this person's like they obviously need a cash, right? I mean, that's a lot of money. But I would imagine that if you're someone that had that much disposable income that you could invest in a card like that, that you weren't hot pressed to force a sale like that. And so this person put it in another PWCC Premier auction, sold for $60K. So massive drop off there. But it's like, dude, this is the worst time. Like, Brady's about to go into his final season. He was on vacation in the Bahamas, and you're here ending an auction on one of his Grail cards in the best condition. Like, I don't know what that person was thinking. They obviously needed the cash. I'm guessing that's my guess. They just really needed to liquidate and needed the money. But why would you not hold that card for the playoffs this year? Like, this is when Brady hype is probably going to spike the most, is playoffs.
I don't know. Do you have it pulled up? Did it ever load up on that?
Oh,
thing?
yeah. I got it pulled up right
really
here.
quick before we get out of here. Once again, everybody subscribe to the YouTube channel, ring the bell, all that good stuff. And man, that is just.
Also, it was actually a PSA 9. So the last transaction on the PSA 10 was $2 million. So obviously this card, very rare, the Bowman Chrome Refractor from 2000 for Tom Brady. And he only had 135 different rookie cards. And this is one of the few of him in the Patriots uniform. And Bowman in 2000 was the brand. So yeah, this card, you can see here, the peak. So the peak right here was January 2022 in the playoff game against the Rams, right. 192,000. Now PWCC Premier Auction goes for 60,000. Here's the image, PSA 9, 60K, 22 bids as well. Whereas the $192,000 transaction had 32 bids in PWCC Premier Auction.
I'm interested what the PSA 10 to PSA 9 pop count is. It's unbelievable, like how big of a jump. I mean, it never ceases to amaze me how big of a jump a 10 and a 9 can actually make it. Yeah, I guess a refractor in that Bowman Chrome would be just so legendary.
Yeah, the pop on his base Bowman is 1,118 PSA 10, 2,000 on PSA 9, and 705 on his PSA 8. But you can see even in those base Bowman cards, I mean, most of those are down. It's just understanding the relevancy and when that player is getting the most relevancy and the most hype. And now is not the time when he's on vacation in the Bahamas. But he's back, man. He's back. And so this is having a positive impact. I expect him to go back up. It'll be interesting to see if he has any playing time here in the preseason. And you know, I doubt it, but certainly by week 1, when we get to see him in action, I think that's when it's like, okay, performance is going to reset all of the current hype right now, because all the hype right now is driven by recency bias around what you're seeing in camp, what you're seeing in preseason, also the expectations. So Jamar Chase has an expectation of getting close to double-digit touchdowns and putting up at least 1,000 receiving yards this year. When his performance goes out and outproduces that expectations, plus the Bengals are winning, now we can see his card values continue to go up. If he underperforms, like if T. Higgins is the guy there, you know, through the first 3 weeks, and Jamar Chase is doing okay, but he's taking a back seat, then we could see his cards just kind of level out. They're kind of, and there's so much variance in cards, right? Because there's so many different cards. You never know when a person is going to pay an extra $1,000 for a gold. Maybe it's a new person in the hobby and they want that card. They have that disposable income. They understand the scarcity multiplier rule. So there's so much gray area in cards, so much complexity because there's so many different cards that it's really hard to make those generalized statements on what's going to happen. But, you know, generally speaking, if a player outperforms their expectations and their team is winning and they're overall in a good situation, then their card values are going to go up. If they underperform the expectations, so if Josh Allen, for example, what happened last year, they lost the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 1, even though he was, again, the quarterback 1 last year, his card values dipped. They went down because he wasn't front runner for MVP. No, that was Derek Carr, Kyler Murray, actually, through the first 3 weeks, and you saw those guys' card values going up. So, you know, that's kind of things to look for, and performance is really going to be the big equalizer offsetting expectations here in week 1.
Before we get out of here, Chase Young out the first 4 games, and very interesting. I bet Washington wish they drafted Herbert.
Yeah, man. One of my big losses is Antonio Gibson too, man. His stock is way down. I've got some nice rookie ticket auto Antonio Gibsons. I've always invested in because he had such low mileage on his wheels, and he's such an explosive athlete with just an incredible height-adjusted speed score. But now that they've drafted Brian Robinson, and Brian Robinson wore that Alabama helmet in college, and Ron Rivera does some interesting things. And Antonio Gibson's now, had dealt with some fumbling issues, and he's now like part special teamer, part punt returner. I don't know. It looks like he's going to be more of a gadget player now, and Brian Robinson's going to be the early down guy. Plus, you bring back J.D. McKissick, who was like about to leave and go to Buffalo, and they're like, no, wait, we'll give you that. We'll offer you that same. So he's obviously going to have a role on third downs. Antonio Gibson's in a total touch squeeze. Now at this point, his values have just cratered, dude.
He will rise from the dead. He's exciting enough. He'll have a few spike weeks, and you'll be able to make some of that money back. So make sure you join the Patreon, patreon.com/footballcards. His name is Andy. My name is Carter. And check out our interviews. We had the Justin Jefferson Super Collector Bazay on recently, and then Lou Janu. All you got to do is check it out wherever you watch this show, obviously on YouTube or on your podcast. And until next time, bam!
Peace, y'all. What's going on, man? What, you got a big rainstorm up there?
Yeah, so I had to take Haley to the store. Well, I had to take her to the store and then take her to work today because our dog has a haircut. So I had to drive her to work. But yeah, there's some nasty weather going on out there. How are you?
Check look at that out, baby.
Oh, an S. Is that yours?
That's mine. You know what's so nice about this car, dude? I sniped this in auction. This is a 2017 certified rookie roll call Leonard Fournette, and it's serial number to his New Jersey number 7. The LSU Alpha Dog number that he wears now, number 7. And I got a 10 on the grade, 10 on the auto. Boom. I sniped this car for like $10 in auction.
I kind of want it now that I think about it.
It's sick, right?
Yeah. You want to know what's do you know the history of the number 7?
Vaguely. I'm not super familiar with it. Refresh my memory.
So the number 7 at LSU is a big deal, right? So they had a bunch of like older number 7s, but it started really with Patrick Peterson, right?
Okay.
So, Tyrann Mathieu played with Patrick Peterson his final year, okay? So Patrick Peterson is a big reason why Tyrann Mathieu is Tyrann Mathieu. And I knew Pat pretty well when I was at college. And I would talk to him once a week. They would do like interview sessions, and I would be off to the side and I'd talk to him. And he is one of the most interesting guys. And it's crazy. I could write a book on this. Like every week he would tell me what he was going to do in the NFL. He was like, he would be like, man, I can't wait to get to the NFL. I'm gonna be one of the best corners. I already know this. And he's obviously lived up to expectations. And one of his biggest things that he doesn't get enough credit for was being Tyrann Mathieu's mentor in college and pro. And he started this number 7 tradition. So he played 3 years with the number 7. Then he graduated. And then Mathieu wore number 14 his freshman year in 2010. Then he took number 7. and had the best season you'll ever see from a defensive player in 2011. And then he got kicked off the 2012 season. And that team would have been Odell Beckham, Jeremy Hill, and Jarvis Landry and Zach Mettenberger on offense. Here's Matt right here. And Lyle Collins. And then on defense, it would have been Tyrann Mathieu, right? And that defense was still loaded, right? So Tyrann Mathieu's replacement was Jalen Mills, who's still in the NFL. Jalen Mills started 4 years. He was great, but he had to start as a true freshman because Tyrann Mathieu got kicked off the team. And Tyrann was just so much better than every defensive back ever. A lot of people argue, Minkah Fitzpatrick or whatever, but he was the most unique, right? Like the only guys you could really argue is like Champ Bailey, really, who played both sides of the ball. But Patrick Peterson started it. So he wore number 7, then Tyrann Mathieu wore number 7, then they didn't give the number 7 out when he got kicked off. So in 2012, nobody wore number 7. Okay. Then in 2013, nobody wore number 7 either. Okay. So you want to know what they did? They went to Leonard Fournette because Leonard Fournette was the biggest running back recruit of all time. Okay. That's ever existed. Out of all the hundreds of millions of running back recruits, he's the biggest, right? So they went to Leonard Fournette and say, look, as a true freshman, we want you to wear number 7. We want you to be the guy day one. And in 2013, LSU did not take a running back. So they said, look, so normally every recruiting class has at least one running back. They intentionally didn't take a running back just to, like sell Leonard Fournette because Fournette was getting, every offer, Alabama wanted him and all that. And, Leonard Fournette obviously took the deal and he had to wear the number 7 for 3 years. And he had LeBron level hype as a recruit and he lived up to expectations. And honestly, as great as Fournette was in college and as dominant as he was in college, and he's still the best running back of the modern era. And what's funny was, like Jeremy Hill's like one of my really, really good buddies now, right? What's really funny is like Jay Hill was on one of my live streams and he was chatting, and they said, "Hey Carter, who's the best running back of the modern era?" And I was like, "Well, it's Leonard Fournette." And then everybody on there was like, "Oh, dude, you collect Jeremy Hill stuff. He on these live streams, all this stuff." And Jay Hill was in there. I was like, "It's Leonard Fournette."
Nice.
Yeah. So they were trying to burn me. I was like, "No, don't you think Jay Hill and I have talked about this?" And Jay Hill's probably number 2 or number 3, somewhere in there. But Fournette had to wear that jersey number, all that weight behind it. And he had LeBron level hype. He had a really archaic offensive scheme. Okay. So, and he didn't have Odell and Jarvis on the outside. Now we had decent receivers, but we didn't have those guys. So everybody on the planet knew that this guy was getting the football, right? Every single freaking person on the planet. And he still was incredible. So, that number 7 uniform means a lot to him. That's why, you spend the thousands of dollars when they were doing the jersey number thing. That's why he wanted that number 7. That number means a crap ton to him. And then you get into the history of like the 7th Ward in New Orleans and all that stuff. So yeah, I know I was like a long roundabout way, but getting the serial number 7 right there, it's big time.
Boom. Plus, it sniped in an auction for like literally $10, dude. It was one of those unbelievable finds that I couldn't. I was so excited to get it, and now it's come back 10-10. I mean, it's it's going up on the wall. Check this one out.
Oh, you got a case, Sean? Who submitted that? You did?
I'll let you guess who submitted this.
Derek.
Yeah, man. This is a big Kahuna Kayshawn, serial numbered out of 3 out of 25 here. Orange refractor, big Kahuna.
Look at that. Let's go, Kayshawn. But you want to know what's funny? I say all that, And in the background, I have this guy's jersey up. You remember this guy?
Oh, Sean Alexander, man, the Seahawks Hall of Famer.
Dude, I freaking miss Sean Alexander so much. Like, I love me a thick running back. You know, Jerome Bettis signed me up. Larry Zonka signed me up. Sean Alexander played for the Seahawks in these ugly uniforms, and he went to Alabama, and I still like this guy. I miss his like thick elbow pads and all that stuff.
Yeah, man, he was all padded up.
But that's why, like, I don't know. I miss like the tanks, right? Sean Alexander was a mother effing tank. I did list a bunch of cards.
Hey,
I know. Look, I listed this lot if you're interested, because you were the one that actually gave me this card. That JJ Watt rookie card I've been holding on to.
Oh, man, yeah.
TJ Watt. Yeah.
I gave you that in a bet.
Yeah. And I was like, let me just put a 99 cent on this.
Are we are you in a position to bet on the Saints Bucks game again this year?
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
You don't sound as confident this year.
No,
as when you had Drew Brees as your quarterback.
Hey, I mean, look, there's one team that could defeat Tom Brady. It's the Saints.
It's the Saints. The Honey Badgers back there. Watch out.
Yeah, and it's funny like how close those guys are. But like, but yeah, it should be. Yeah, I'd be down to do a few. All right, this is a good comment right here to bring up from Justice Tyrone. Okay. Good afternoon. Hope y'all are having a good day. I don't know what I'm doing wrong when I post my sports card on eBay. Get no views.
Yeah, I got an email from that guy as well, actually, in describing his situation further. He says and so my first question is like, he actually gave me his store. Actually, yeah, that's right. He gave me his store. So
send it to me. I'll look at it right now before.
Yeah, no, because I told him this is important. Like, I need to know what cards you have, what your pictures look like. So let me see.
You want to know the hard truth about this? And I'll say this like in the actual episode, is the bottom line is you just got to list desirable cards. I mean, that's all there is to it. I mean, there's no, I mean, there's no other way around it. You've just got to list desirable cards, and you got to take good photos of them. That's it. You can put, I mean, the titles are important as well. Put the year, put the name, put the set, and put the number of the card on there. Make sure you're spelling the name correctly. But the bottom line is, if it's a desirable card, people will find it. They just will. That's all there is to it. You put a Justin Herbert silver up there, people are going to find it. Okay. And that's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. That's the benefit of being a Tyrann Mathieu collector is, is he a desirable player? For a defensive guy? Probably, but in general, no. So, his auctions have gone up, but, still, it's just a thing where, he's got to list better cards. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. He gave me his store name, so I'm gonna pull it up here and see. All right, Cubs collection.
I trust me. I wish all these Rat Attack cards that don't mean anything, and also people have just gotten more selective. They just have. It's
yeah, because it really depends on the player, right? I mean, if it's Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, they may be inclined to get a base optic, base prism. But now all of a sudden, I think it all depends on like the sweet spots. I do think most hobbyists have and will spend, $30 to $60 on a whim for a player they like. And when you look at what cards fit into that category for skill position players, it's autograph card. It's nicer cards, it's serial number cards. So it really does depend on what you have and what kind of appeal it has. All right. So did you know, like, to search for specific sellers on eBay, you have to click that advanced search button next to search, and then you have to You have to actually, it's complicated. So you have to click advanced search, and then you have to scroll down here, and there's a sellers button, and you go only show items from specific sellers, and then you type in the name.
Oh my God.
And then you go search. And so now I find, and so then I find,
These are good photos.
an item. Yeah, it's just not a desirable card, unfortunately.
Yeah, so click his name.
Click his name.
Okay.
I'll save him. And then and so he's only got 9 feedback, which it's 100% positive, but
the likelihood that he's not a good seller is very small if he's really trying to sell more cards.
So here's all his listing, 198 results, and
titles look good. Scroll down, let's see. Okay. I would just 99-cent that Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a big thing.
If you 99-cent Jamar Chase, he's a hot enough name that people are going to pick it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
either listed, buy it now, or go 99-cent on the auction. That's a definite takeaway.
You see, look, right there. Scroll up a little bit. It's like that Jamar Chase base mosaic. Scroll up just one more. Right there. Just 99-cent that, right? Yeah. The difference between $5.99 and the views that you get on a 99-cent auction is not that big, right? Now, if you had like a very, and this is what I did for one of my big Joe Burrow autos during the playoffs. I did a auction, and the first bid was a 4-figure number. But I mean, he was playing in the playoffs. So I knew for sure that I was going to get that if he was going to win that game, and I did. But still, I'm just a 99-cent guy, and let it ride. Let that thing ride.
Yeah, but if you do that, like end the auction at 12:45 Sunday, September 11th, right before they play the Steelers week 1 at home. So like I wouldn't do it now just because Jamar Chase is not going to play in the preseason.
Right.
Joe Burrow's just getting back to practicing. And so the hype is his prices have leveled off. There's nothing to really drive his prices up or down right now. The hype, though, is definitely going to peak, maybe even end it, because the chances of him having a good game against the Steelers are high. Maybe you end it like sometime that Sunday evening, Sunday night. Yeah. Because I think the Bengals probably come away with this game with a win. It's at home. We could absolutely see Jamar Chase at least getting, 6, 7, 8 targets that he converts into close to 100 yards. I mean, worst case scenario, right? Like it would be odd for him to not at least get that, and they come away with a win. All of a sudden, that's a great time to kind of end an auction. But
I'm actually glad you brought that. I'm actually glad you brought that up, because I pulled 2 different Josh Allen cards, base Donruss non-rookies, or like the clearly Donruss thing. And I have one list ending like at 10 p.m. the night of Thursday Night Football, because they're the season opener. And then I'm going to list one and end it the Wednesday night before the season opener. And I'm going to be interested to see which one actually sells for more. If the game itself actually plays a role. But yeah, I'm looking here, and
it's a lot of undesirable cards. I'm not gonna lie, man.
That's all it is, man.
Yeah.
And I'm
not seeing anything serial numbered. The cards from quarterbacks I'm seeing are from offshoot, off-brand, lesser desirable sets, college cards. And it's like Garrett Wilson's great, big market team, but this is non-serial numbered, non-autographed, and a college uniform unlicensed card,
And you should just 99-cent it.
You should 99-cent. But wait till week 1. Wait till the games come week 1,
The difference between like 99-cent and $3 is nothing, right? It really is nothing in the grand scheme of things, right? I just don't see a card here that I would that. And I'm a Jamar Chase guy.
Yeah.
I just like.
But Mosaic is definitely a lesser desirable set. It's below Select, and Select just came out. I definitely want to talk about 2021 Select today. It's
Sure.
busted onto the scene. Andrew Perry said he thinks the Select cards this year look gorgeous. Like there's definitely some big fans of it this year. So I want to do a little market analysis, talk about Select. But
Now
yeah,
let's
I'm just
look.
not seeing anything here that pops at all.
See right there, that one right there. So $10 bids and then a $15 buy it now. What? You know what I'm saying? Like that's not. And
Yeah.
also a lot of sellers don't. A lot of buyers, like for me, like that Jordan Love card right there. Okay, so you see right there that the listing contradicts the price. Because you see, it says 2020 Jordan Love Donruss Optic rated rookie number 154 rookie card. I wouldn't put rookie. Something
Yeah.
else is if it's a rated rookie and I include rated rookie in the title, you don't have to put rookie again in there because of the search. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing is I wouldn't put high value on there because if I could buy it now for $15, it's not a high value per se. Now it could be a
Mm-hmm.
good value if the card is like normally $35, but if I hear high value, that means that this card is actually worth like $15 is a high value card, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I would just say that stuff like that at the end just doesn't help.
it doesn't.
I
But
just don't think it helps. The
but the
rocket ships, the flame emojis, the brand new mint stuff. I don't think it does anything at all, honestly.
but these photos are really, really, really
Yeah,
good though. I mean,
photos are
God,
fantastic. Got that.
way better than mine. I'll tell you that. Look,
I saw your photo. Do you take all your photos outside holding the card?
I'm gonna do it and see if it actually helps. I don't think it
That's
does.
interesting. Like there's some kind of human element in there. I noticed all
Yeah, I
your
mean,
photos are you holding the card outside.
yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll put them out because it does look different, especially in football since the game is played on grass.
That's interesting.
But yeah, I got a bunch of. If you want to talk about undesirable, I got a bunch of undesirable cards.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. And you know what? I'll list them and I'll just put them in a buy it now for a load and do a 53-cent plain white envelope. And if they
What's it?
sell, they sell. If not, I'll, end up giving them to some kids one day,
And I'm getting greedy with my Jameis card too. So I'm in for it. Total, all of it, I'm in for it. I think $450, and I got an offer at $650, and I want to get at least 8. I think I'm getting greedy. I think I'm gonna get at least 8 leading up into the season. I don't know. It's risky.
It's
It's
risky,
risky.
man. You're playing with fire.
I am because I want to show more loyalty to Jameis instead of just taking a $200 profit.
Look at you.
I'm showing belief in Jameis right now.
Yeah, but
yeah,
my question is, what kind of belief do you have in Dennis Allen?
a lot.
Really?
Just because that I wouldn't if that locker room wasn't mature, right? That is the most veteran team that you could think of in the NFL. You can argue the Bucks and the Saints are the two of the older and two of the more veteran leadership teams. When you look at the players on those teams, right? Obviously with the Bucks, you have Brady, you have Mike Evans, and then with the Saints, you got Tyron, you got Jarvis, you got Mark Ingram, guys that Cam Jordan, guys that are well respected in this league.
Dang, some of these select cards. Look at that guy with G's for that Mac Jones.
Yeah, I gotta sell a bunch so I can get the Jabbar Chase zebra print.
See if we can find that. I got to see if we can find a 2021 select. We got to see what the Jamars are going for, like what has sold, because it's so fresh right now.
Oh, look at that bad boy.
This looks great,
Orange.
right?
Yeah, that's nasty. That patch is nasty. Oh, look at his wow, look, his auto changed. He pulled a Tyrann Matthew.
He did, didn't he? Is he just getting a little sloppier, just getting tired of signing stuff?
Wow. Yeah, probably. I mean, that patch is vicious. That is a gorgeous card right there.
Yeah, really nice card. Better picture.
I would still rather that zebra print card. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh, but look at the field level on Jamar Chase, though. This card may do better than his Prism just with the picture, because this is a good picture.
That is nasty. The way that jersey just pops.
Yeah.
I love the Bengals. Man, that's nasty.
That's a good looking card, man.
I kind of want to just sell my entire collection and just build that rainbow.
Do it.
Oh my god.
So that's the concourse. That's the base tier. I think that looks pretty good because he's like just evaded a tackle.
Yeah.
That's from Chronicles. There's the goofy Prism picture.
That's so weird. He never catches a ball like that.
And that's pretty much it. You see, it's so fresh that
I can't. That first zebra print hits. Ooh, your boy's gonna have to take out the wedding fund.